Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
Know your lane for what you saying, yo. Silly with my 9 milli with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, every while in the studio. You don't wanna vibe, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. Like a nigga that'll slap me with the tulio. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, nigga, shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, nigga, wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no delaying for what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. Another combo.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. We are back. We are back because I got those donations from my sisters who hit me up in the Cash App before I jumped off earlier today. I was able to send him the balance of $33.50. So he sent me the transcripts. So we got the transcripts, guys. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Sylvia, I'm reading the transcripts first, bitch. How about that? Because you wanted to be Miss Entrometida and wanted to be so quick. That's why God don't like you. You see? You ugly, bitch. Ugly, bitch. You ugly. That's why we're gonna get your transcripts. We're gonna be reading your transcripts. We're gonna guys, we're gonna get together, guys, and we're gonna get Sylvia's transcripts. We're gonna read her hearing. That's what we're gonna do, y'all. We're gonna read her hearing. How about that? Huh? How about that? How about that? Uh-huh. Maybe we should do that. And it's a state hearing. State might be different from federal. Who knows how they charge? We could do this, Brutus. Let me say what's up to my family in the building. What's up to my OCOV family who's in the building and in the bushes. I love y'all. And for all those R. Kelly supporters out there that love me, I love y'all too. What's up? K-Love. What's up, sis? Queen. What's up, Miss Newton? Bob. SpongeBob. Steve. Mi hermano, ¿cómo estás? K-Love. Triple OG Diva in the building. Yes. Yes. Nexie, what's up, my sexy Nexie? Ty, my babe. She did a meme for me, guys. Hold up. Hold up. Give me a minute. Wait, let me download what she did for me. Let me download what she did for me. Let me download what she did for me. Hold on, guys. Because you know my sister Ty, she does great work. Even though she said she got something better for me. She got something better for me. She got something better for me. It's okay. It's okay. She got something better for me. But I love what she did now. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. I gotta send it to my computer. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. So how's everybody doing? What's up to my peeps? We are back. We are back. Cherie, what's up, lady? Candy, Candy. Mwah. Danny, long time no see, mamita. How are you, baby girl? How are you? Pettyville, sis. Thank you. Thank you. Candy, Pettyville, and Flawless. Thank you, guys. Because of you guys, I got the transcripts right now. I sure did. I sure did. Welcome back. All right, now I'm trying to upload my sis Ty. she did something for me. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm about to upload it. I'm about to upload it. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. Yes. Because my sister Ty is very talented. For all those who are in my chat now, or if you're in the bushes and you are a content creator, please drop your links in the chat if you are a moderator in the building. Gracias, mi amor. Okay, let me open it. Let me get it. Hold on, y'all. Okay. Hold on. I'm about to put it in the file. Okay, hold on. Now let me go here. Hold on, guys. This is going to take a little minute. Just give me a minute, y'all. Give me a minute. Let me go here. What am I doing? Overlay. I'm going to do it as an overlay. Okay, I'm going to add it. Okay, hold on, guys. Daddy, you're in the kitchen there. Please check on that rice. I'm not in the kitchen. Who's in the kitchen? Somebody that's in the kitchen. Please look on my rice. Whoever that is in the kitchen. Okay, give me a second, guys. Give me a second. I'm trying to find the picture now. God damn it. Hold on, y'all. Here we go. Found it. Okay. And Ty, we love you, Ty. Thank you, lady. Mwah. Gracias, mi amor. Gracias, mi amor. Gracias, mi amor. Ty, I love you, Ty. And look what we got here. The flying monkey, y'all. Look, y'all. Flying monkey. Look, her master. Look at the master in the middle. That's the master in the middle with the white. You see the master? You see her master? You see her master? Truth strong warrior. What's up, mommy? Yada dada. Tears. What's up, baby? We was requesting flying monkeys earlier. Well, look at the flying monkey we got on the screen. Look at the master. Look at the master. Look at the master in the white. Look at the master up on top. You see the master? You see him. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Ty, I love you. Look at on the bottom. You see the flying monkey with the Toto? You see the flying monkey with Toto on the bottom? Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. She gonna be mad. It's okay. You could be mad. It's all right. Oh, it's all right, mommy. It's all right. It's all right, baby. It's all right. It's okay to be mad. It's okay. I don't mind you being mad. Please be mad. I want you to be mad. Please. Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah, I really
Look at the flying monkey, David. I'm gonna get a better one for you, though. I'm gonna get a better one for you. I'm gonna get a better one for you. Don't fuck with me, bitch. Don't fuck with me, bitch. I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you, ho. You fucking puta. You a puta. You a puta. You see, I was trying to be professional with the reading, but I didn't want to do this now. I was kind of trying to save it for the end, but I just got so excited. Couldn't help myself. Damn it to hell. I could not help myself. Look at RK Bat at the top. Exactly. He's the Tin Man on top of the flying monkey.
Close the window.
Okay? Close the door.
Close the window.
All right, why is this window open? He couldn't even open a crack if you want. That's fine. Here, babe. Here, take this. The sly fox make me sick to my stomach. Oh, God. Okay. Girl, I feel like you do. Here, puppy. Oh, thank you. All right. So, she just a horrid old bat. All she had to do was mind her business. Caleb, that part. Okay. Okay. That was all she had to do, puñeta. Pero tú sabes, monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see, monkey fucking do. Bitch. Cherise, what's up, my love? Yes, sis, we back, girl. Because we got the transcripts. All right, guys. So, enough of the monkeying around. We're going to let you slide, Sly Fox. We're going to let you slide. We're going to let you slide for a minute, okay? Yeah. We're not giving you too much time. We're just giving you a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time. Yeah, no. Because I'm that girl over there. Who's that girl? Senorita Miss Diva. Who's that girl? Senorita Miss Diva. Hey, you fucking puta. Okay. I'm trying to tell you exactly. LaShawn, baby. What's up, my love? Oh, you listening from work? Okay, baby. Okay, baby. D-Life. What's up, ma? What's up, baby? Yeah, so. Yeah, we gonna, yeah. Okay. That's what we gonna do. That's what we gonna do. We gonna keep it 100 over here. Okay. Hola, chica. What's up, my love? ¿Cómo estás? All right. So now that my building is full, let me get to work, right? Let's get to this. Let's share the screen over here. Oh, wait. It didn't open yet? Hold on. Okay, I don't know why I didn't show it being open. All right. Let me... Okay, let's try this again, guys. Share my screen. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to open like that. And I think I'm going to, I don't know. Do you guys want me to read it like this with my little picture on the side? Or should I read it like this with my picture on the bottom? Give me a 1 for me being on the side, or a 2 for me to be on the bottom. Hey, A2L, what's up, mama? That's right, mama. That's how we roll. You right. Rico, what's up, puppy? Hey, he put 1 3. Okay, with me on the bottom. All right. Oh, my watermark. Yes, girl. Thank you for reminding me, my love. Thank you for reminding me. Where is my watermark again? Okay. Boom. My brother.
Hey, what's up? ¿Qué tal?
What's up, puppy?
Mi
We the bomb
tío.
over here. Listen, babe,
Yep.
you could read the words on the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right, so that's how we're gonna do it, okay?
Yeah. I was gonna say mi tío está muriendo. Jose.
Ah, ¿tu tío está muriendo o está durmiendo?
Muriendo, dying. He's
Are you serious? I'm so
yeah.
sorry to hear that, my love.
I have the day off for bereavement, but this is it's better to have a distraction because it's been
Right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
it's good to
Yo,
have a distraction.
my condolence. Everyone, please send your condolences to our brother SpongeBob for his tío who's is slowly passing, slowly transitioning. K
Diva,
love, mi amor, what's up, baby?
Diva, pull the screen up.
What do you mean pull the screen up,
Your
ma?
information is up. Pull the screen up.
Oh, yes, you absolutely right. I didn't peep that. I didn't peep that, my love. Thank you, mi amor.
You're welcome.
That's all right, motherfuckers. Now y'all know where I live. Y'all want to come through? Test me if you motherfucking want to. That's all I gotta say. I ain't worried. Test me if you motherfucking want to and come to my house. I wish a bitch would. Okay, so guys, K-Love, hi mommy, how are you? Good evening, by the way.
Good, and you?
I'm chiliando. I'm chili, 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 chili. I'm chili, chili. So this is the invoice, guys. Okay? And as you can see, it is 90 pages at $4.85 per page. Okay? And the subtotal was $436.50. And that's what we paid. Okay? And that was the last amount I put in there, which was $33.50. And we have no balance. Zero balance. We paid everything we were supposed to. Okay?
No loans required.
Right? Okay. There it is, y'all. All right. So now, for the pendeja who says, I don't know, whatever, I'm lying, here you go, puta. 90 pages at $4.85. I'm sorry, I got the fucking first copy. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't get the original. But as you can see, I got the original copy because that's what he told me. After that, everybody else is going to get copies. So you're a lucky puta. How about that? All right. Now, here we go. Okay, let me see now. Can you guys see the screen?
I can see it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. You want to be the judge, brother?
Sure.
Okay. And would you like to be Bonjean?
I can do that.
Okay, love?
That's fine.
Okay. And
hanging
I
there as
guess
long as I
I'll
can,
be a
okay?
penteg. All right, so all right, wait. All right, so you know what? You be the judge. K-Love, you'll be the prosecutors. I'll be the defense.
Okay. I'm gonna stay on as long as I can. I got company coming in about an hour.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. And I was good. And I was good. And I was good because I might just jump off anyway and continue a part 2 another day. All right.
Cool beans.
All right. So here we go. I'm going to read first just to get this out the way. Okay. In the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division, the United States of America, the plaintiffs for docket number 19 CR 567, United States of America versus Robert Sylvester Kelly, also known as R. Kelly, the defendant. Chicago, Illinois, February 23rd, 2023, 9:45 a.m. This is the transcript of proceedings of the sentencing before the Honorable Harry D. Linenweber. The appearances for the plaintiff is Honorable John R. Lausch Jr., the United States Attorney, Miss Janice Apenteg, Elizabeth Pozzolo, Jason Julian, and Brian Williamson. And they are the plaintiffs. They are for the plaintiffs. For the defendant, we got Bonjean Law Group, Jennifer Bonjean and Ashley Cohen. Also present is Michael Alper, someone from probation, and the court reporter, Joseph. Okay. I'll be the clerk. The clerk says 19 CR 567 United States versus Kelly.
Appearances, please.
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. Jennifer Bonjean, Bonjean, on behalf of Mr. Kelly. Ms. Cohen, good morning, Your Honor. Ashley Cohen, also on behalf of Mr. Kelly.
Good morning, Your Honor. Janice Apenteg, Elizabeth Palozzo, Jason Julian, and Brian Williamson on behalf of the United States.
We're here for sentencing, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are both sides prepared?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The documents I have reviewed, and they are substantial. The pre-sentence investigation report, along with the recommendation, the government's memo, the defendant's memo, the government's memo plus exhibit, and the defendant's memo plus exhibits, which include letters that were submitted to both myself and to Judge Donnelly I can't see the next part, Diva, in New York. The report from Dr. Park Dietz and Dr. Renee Sorrentino. The defendant filed a reply memorandum. The government has submitted for restitution reports of attorneys Brown and Rosen, opinions of Dr. Sharon Cooper, opinions of Smith Economics Group, Pauline's victim impact statement. The defense has filed response to the government's submission for restitution. Anything else I should have? I mean, there's a lot. Anything else I should have that you can recall?
Yes, Your Honor. Elizabeth Palozzo. We also submitted a restitution memo on the docket that references a second government's version that attached an impact statement from Jane and a study that's referenced in there as well. So those were filed yesterday, and we brought copies up to your chambers.
Yeah, I did review those. And also there was a number of pleadings from the lawsuit against an attorney, Loggins, involving, I believe, Pauline. I did review those.
I think it's Nia, Your Honor, but...
Was it Nia?
Yes, Your Honor. That's...
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. But the memo, the other report was on Pauline yesterday that you sent up.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, I have reviewed those. Anything else that I should have seen?
Your Honor, Obviously, we have some objections to the restitution issues, but perhaps we should just table that until I don't know how the court wants to go.
Well, we will proceed with the sentencing, and then I'll proceed to restitution after we complete the sentencing. That would be the way I propose to do it. Now, Ms. Bonjean, have you reviewed the pre-sentence investigative report?
Yes, Your Honor,
Have you discussed it with your client?
I have.
Now, I understand that you have one objection to the guideline calculations. Eliminating that, factually, are there matters that you wish to call to my attention you believe to be incorrect? I'm not talking about the legal issue of the guidelines, but factually, as far as the history of your client, things of that nature.
Your Honor, in our memorandum, we did point out some factual objections based on factual misstatements, primarily that appeared in the recommendation. So I would just draw the court's attention. I believe, let's see, I put it in footnote 2. I've identified some of those factual misstatements. And just for the record, for example, the characterization of the conduct with Nia somehow being over an extended period of time, or that it wasn't a one or two time occurrence. We object to any statement by probation that it was over a prolonged period of time. The court heard the evidence. I don't think the government would even contest this. It was exactly a two-time occurrence. It involved conduct that were not suggesting does not satisfy the elements of the inducement count, but it was a matter of touching rather than penetration or sexual assault as we understand it legally. So I wanted that to be clear that there seems to be a generalization when it comes to describing these events. So I did put that in my memorandum. I don't think I need to belabor the point. So probation's characterization of the conduct as to Nia and the recommendation we do object to.
Okay. Specifically, can you point out in the PSI that paragraph or the point so that I'll know precisely what you're talking about?
Yes, Judge. In page 2 of the it's actually in the recommendation.
What page is it on? Is that on?
Page 2. It's about 2/3 down.
Wait a minute. I'm not following you. I'm talking about the PSI of Mr. Alper.
Right. And I was referring to his recommendation, Your Honor, where he.
Oh, the recommendation. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not specifically talking about his recommendation. That is his recommendation, his view, and so forth, which I either can accept, not accept, or whatever. So I'm talking about the actual PSI, which will follow him. And if there are any inaccuracies in that cutoff.
Oh, you can't see? Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, baby.
Document, if you want to call my attention to them, I will consider whether having them changed or leave them alone, depending on the situation. Is there any specific fact that's set forth in the actual PSI dated January 18th of this year?
Yes, Your Honor. And I think it does go to the guidelines, but we object to the criminal history category that he attributed to Mr. Kelly based on this 1996 incident.
I think the government does not agree with the PSI on that. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So we will remove that.
Thank you, Your Honor. There were a couple paragraphs, paragraph 125 in the PSR, for instance.
Let me get to it. Hold on.
Sure.
125? Okay, I'm there. Teresa?
Well, probation says defendant's contact frequency with Bruce. Do you see that sentence, Your Honor?
Hold on. Okay. What is the objection or what's the inaccuracy, alleged inaccuracy?
Yes. The suggestion is that somehow he had said something different to the Eastern District Probation Department. And I wanted to clarify for the court to the extent that this is suggesting that somehow he has misled the probation department here, is that his relationship with Bruce was non existent for the most part up until his Eastern District case. They did reconnect in and around the time that he was facing sentencing in the Eastern District. So there is no real inconsistency there. It's just that what he told probation in the Eastern District was correct at the time, but his relationship with Bruce did reconnect after the Eastern District case. So, minor point, but I just wanted to make it clear that
All right.
there wasn't an inconsistency there.
All right. I will note that for the record. Anything else?
Pause for a second. Did she really bring up something about Bruce and what he said in the PSR report?
Yes, she did.
What? And what does that have to do with his sentencing? Because he lied and he didn't. It was one thing at one time, but it's another thing now. She just needed to clear that up. Really?
I
Bruce
don't
is
know.
not
We
credible.
don't have the PSR report, so I couldn't tell you for sure.
And we all know
I
Bruce
wish
is
we
not
did.
credible.
They need to unseal it.
Agreed.
Thank you, Ice Style, for that. All right, so go ahead. Now I go. Your Honor, the probation report rips a great deal of, I guess, conduct from the Eastern District PSR. And there are objections we have to that conduct that were placed in writing and presented to the probation department. Again, this is conduct that is set out in the defendant's criminal history, though. And the reality is Mr. Kelly is going to be allotted 3 criminal history points for that conduct. I think irrespective of what is summarized there. So again, to the extent that there's any inconsistencies there, I think it's not necessarily going to feature into this court's ultimate determination here. It appears in the criminal history section. And so
I understand. I did review that. It's a summary of, I guess, I'm not precisely sure where the summary came from, whether it came from the Eastern District PSI or Mr. Alper, whether he is Mr. Alper here?
all right, I'll read Mr. Alfer. Mr. Alfer. Yes, Your Honor. Michael Alfer, U.S. probation.
The information on the Eastern District case, did that come from the probation department there?
That's correct.
So it's not your specific findings. You just repeated what was in the PSI?
That's correct. That's summarized from the PSR, where I believe in that case, they wrote a 30 or 40 page summary of the offense.
Okay.
And I narrowed it down for this case.
Okay. Well, I'll let the record disclose that it's not our probation officer. That's not his specific findings or conclusions. He just repeated what he understands the Eastern District of New York probation office was okay. Was okay.
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, have you read the pre-sentence report or have you had it read to you?
You could do that.
Your Honor, I've gone over it with my attorney. You have gone over it? Yes. Is that correct? Is there anything else that you would like to point out to the court that you consider improper or wrong that your attorney has not just told me about?
Oh.
I'm just relying on my attorney for that, Your Honor. Okay, so you're relying upon what Ms. Bonjean has just told me, and you adopt that? Is that correct? Yes, sir. Is the government satisfied with the PSI?
Yes, Your Honor. Given that Your Honor's note that the government disagrees with the one point that's assigned in paragraph 94 and that's carried out through 97 and then 177, because those numbers carry over into the criminal history calculation, which is in paragraph 97, and then the guidelines range, which is calculated in 177.
I'm not sure I understood that. Let me read what you just said. Oh, 94. Yeah. The government has no specific information on that. That's my understanding. So the government isn't suggesting that that occurred or didn't occur. Is that correct?
It's the government's position that those points shouldn't be discussed because we can't determine the disposition.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. Just that paragraph 97 and 177, those paragraphs incorporate that one point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to find that it's criminal history category 2, and we're not assigning a point for that. He gets 3 criminal history points based on the New York decision, correct? All right. The guideline calculations are essentially agreed to, with the exception of the guideline calculation for counts 9, 10, and 12, was it?
That's right.
And Ms. Bonjean objects to the probation officer's conclusion that the convictions in 9, 10, and 12 triggered 2A 3.1 of the guidelines, which is a fear of bodily harm. The defendant's position, as I understand it, is that based on the government's proof in the case, that Mr. Kelly groomed the victims by the use of affection, gifts, use of his star power, and his offer to help, and so forth. That he did not coerce or use fear of bodily harm, but he used what I believe the expert witness of the government indicates, what's been commonly referred to as grooming, which I understand meaning that you entice rather than coerce.
Mm.
Did I summarize the positions?
Yes, you did.
The government believes that fear of bodily harm is broad enough to include this case. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And it's not necessarily fear of bodily harm, but a broader concept of fear.
But it does require, the statute. The one item in the statute that would govern would be coerce, correct?
Coercion is defined as any kind of threat or other fear inducing coercion, Your Honor.
Yeah, I looked in the Black's Law Dictionary. It says to compel by force or threat. I think Ms. Bonjean is correct that the evidence does not show that there was a fear of bodily harm. There may have been a fear that she would be cut off and isolated and things of that nature, but the whole theory of grooming, which the government tried this case on, which included the expert witness, was sort of the opposite of fear of bodily harm. It was the fear of loss of love, loss of affection, and that sort of thing. And it just doesn't seem to me that that arises to the fear of bodily harm. Do you want to add any response? I don't want to put words in, Ms. Bonjean. Did I summarize your position? Wow,
Yes, that's
wow,
correct, Your Honor.
God, do I disagree with the judge here? Sorry to
No, that's
interject.
okay.
But, wow, okay. God, there was definitely fear of bodily harm, coercion.
Especially with the Tracy situation.
Right, I agree. You know what? I agree. It was more enticing, seducing, coercing. It wasn't done with fear and bodily harm.
I don't know. I don't think I agree with that.
Didn't you
I
put his
agree.
hands
I
on
agree.
him?
Because if you think about everything that he's done, the only thing none of the girls actually did say that he told me if I didn't do this, he would beat my ass.
Then what was the
Okay.
purpose of chastising?
You know what I'm
them?
saying? They didn't actually say at trial that they were scared, that that's why they had to do what they were told.
Well, the prosecution messed up then. Okay.
I
Right.
definitely feel
They
like that
didn't
was
prove their
I'm sure
statement as they
that was
should have.
there. I'm sure that was there. I mean, this guy was menacing, you know.
yeah. What was the purpose of the chastisings then?
The chastising is the punishments, but that had nothing to do with here. That had to do with the other case.
Oh man.
Gotcha.
You understand what I'm
I'm
saying?
sure it existed here. They should have brought it up then. Okay.
Hmm.
Whatever is what it is. Proceed,
This
Miss
case.
Bonjean.
All right, so let me finish. Let me go. All right. Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. And I would just point out that I think the evidence, first of all, the government did not pursue that theory really at all. If you look at their closing argument, if you look at also the court may recall the jury's note regarding the disjunctive versus conjunctive, I think, and their concern, I should say, their question about whether they had to find persuasion, inducement, and coercion. And they wanted to know whether they had to find all. I think we have a lot of indicators that at no point was there evidence presented of coercion or any type of threat of anything to overcome the victim's will. They have a lot to argue about the tactics of Mr. Kelly, but fear of bodily harm or fear of any sort of threats that would overcome will, their will, is not among them. And that's just how the evidence came in. That's the theory they went on. So, yes, I think you summarized it correctly, and I have nothing further to add about that.
Your Honor, the government would point the court to case law setting out that this concept of fear can incorporate. I can't see that, and your logo is on top of that. Can you scroll down a little bit? I meant up. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
oh,
could incorporate inferences from the circumstances, including the power disparity, especially in circumstances involving adults abusing minor children, and that a fear of bodily harm is implicit in those types of relationships.
Can I just real quick say that's what I think? That is what I think should be the law here. I don't know if there's a split in case law, which gave the judge discretion in going either way, but the law should be if it's a much older man
Right.
or
oh. Right.
then there's
Because he's a figure of
automatically,
authority.
yeah, there's a fear of harm due to the power disparity.
The power, right.
Mhm.
That's
You
my
know,
opinion, just a personal opinion.
they need to make a law of coercive control. That's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
You know,
We-
stuff like that. Then when these instances like that, if they had a law just for coercion,
mhm.
because they have it, but it's mixed up in another statute. I think if they took it out and made it solely, you know, that the authoritative figure intimidated them just because of his status, his figure, because he's older.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be some kind of law for that specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why Bonjean gives the argument. You know what I mean? Because there is really no law on that.
Right. Okay. We
So,
would. Oh, I'm sorry.
okay, baby, go ahead, continue.
We would also point you to the testimony at trial where Jane testified directly that she was intimidated into sexual acts with Kelly, and intimidation is naturally a state of fear. Pauline testified how she was concerned that Kelly coerced her into engaging in sex acts with Kelly. And Nia told law enforcement that she felt compelled to engage in sex acts with Kelly because if she didn't do what Kelly said, she would lose the I think that's she would lose the relationship with her. I think he meant him, but and that is all within the concept of the implicit fear that is established, including fear of bodily harm in a relationship between an abusive relationship between a adult and a minor child.
Well, the one thing that's absent in the case was bodily harm actually done. As far as I can recall from the testimony, there never was any specific threat that he was going to. Now, he harmed her, obviously, but it wasn't the threat of bodily, the indignation and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to find, so I'm going to find that we're not going to enhance that. I believe, therefore, that the actual offense level would be 32 and criminal history category 2. Is that correct? Ms.
Yes, Your
Bonji?
Honor.
Your
Sorry, I
Honor,
was on mute, guys. Yes,
you're
Your
fine.
Honor.
Your Honor, we set forth an alternative calculation that would result in an offense level of 33 based on the application of a separate subsection of 2G1.1 that would apply if the offense involved the production of a visual depiction of the sexual abuse. And that would apply to Jane and Pauline, who both testified at trial that Kelly set up video recordings of his instances of abuse.
What was the
Yeah, so starting in 2G 1.1, if you look at subsection C1, that references a cross reference to 2G 2.1, which was set out a base level of 27 and then an increase of 2 levels for the age of the victim. But that would only apply to two of the victims, Jane and Pauline, and not Nia.
would that affect the overall guidelines then?
Yes, it would. So a level of 33 with a criminal history category of 2 would result in an advisory sentencing range of 151 to 188 months.
Ms. Bonjean? Ms. Bonjean?
Yes, Judge. Excuse me, guys. Yes, Judge.
It's okay,
Yes.
Ms. Bonjean. I understand that, representing a pedophile is very tough. Please continue.
Sorry, I'm trying to eat my dinner in the background. Yes, Judge. Yes. They made that argument in a footnote, and it is less applicable. It's entirely inapplicable.
Where is the footnote? Let me.
Your Honor, is page 19 of the government's memo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's footnote 4 starting on page 17 and footnote 5 starting on page 19.
I'm trying to figure this out. Can you help me a little bit again, explaining your.
Yes, Your Honor. So the subsection C1 of section 2G 1.1 discusses if the offense involved causing a person of less than 18 years of age to engage in sexually explicit conduct for the purpose of producing a visual depiction. That invokes the cross reference at section 2G 2.1, which would result in a base level of 27.
Ms. Bonjean? Ms. Bonjean?
Yes. I'm chewing. Forgive me, please. Yes, Judge. The only the only witness who discussed or testified about visual images being produced is Jane. And our position is Mr. Kelly is being punished for those 3 counts of producing child pornography. Now, the government wants to now use this same conduct to enhance the enticement count as to Jane for creating the child pornography that he is being punished for already in the other 3 counts, which would be multiple punishment. It also, this is a trafficking type of enhancement. This is for people who transport over state lines for the purpose, and that's the language, for the purpose of creating child pornography. Mr. Kelly's offenses are not trafficking offenses. In fact, by definition, under the United States sentencing guidelines, they are not trafficking offenses. They may be offenses. So I am not trying to suggest that they're not serious offenses, but they're not trafficking offenses. Pauline merely testified, yes, I saw video equipment in the house. She never testified she's ever seen a video of herself. She never testified that she saw him video her. There's no evidence that there was ever a video made of Pauline whatsoever. This is just an assumption on the part of the government. The evidence didn't establish that. They could have asked Pauline that question, but they didn't. And she never testified to that. At best, she said, I saw the presence of recording equipment. So, and again, we also have the problem with Mr. Kelly didn't transport anyone anywhere. This was not for the purpose of creating child pornography. And this enhancement is completely inapplicable. Other than Jane, there's simply no evidence. We didn't see any video, and there was no testimony about any other videos. So, the government, and that's why they regulated this theory to a footnote. And that's where it should stay. It's not applicable.
Okay. Anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. 2 points there. So there are statements from Pauline in the grand jury and Lisa Van Allen that they testified as to how Kelly video recorded them. And in our footnote 4, we have citations to both of those statements.
Yeah, but that did not appear in the trial, though.
Yes, Your Honor, but at a sentencing that can be considered. And legally speaking, Your Honor has ruled about 3 times now that there need not be the sole purpose of producing child pornography to invoke those type of provisions.
But he's being punished for that already, Your Honor.
Okay. I will not increase that. I will make a finding that we have 32 offense level, criminal history category 2, 135 to 168. So the government may proceed to address me as to the appropriate sentence.
Yes, Your Honor. If we could understand from the court when the victim impact statements will be read, if Your Honor wants to hear that now or at the conclusion.
Well, whenever you want. Well, probably now. You might as well have those now.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're going to read them, or?
Your Honor, they will be read by 2 victims and a representative of one of the victims.
All right.
Your Honor, first a representative of Jane.
Yes, sir.
I can read this if you want, Diva. I know you're eating.
Okay, so I guess I'll be Mr. Brown. And K-Love, you'll be the other young lady?
Okay.
Or no. Wait, how many impact statements were there? 3, right?
It was 3.
All right, so then you know what? Why don't you take Mr. Brown?
Okay.
Steve, you take Mr. Brown, and Caleb, you'll be Jane's attorney, or you'll be no.
Mr. Brown is the
Mr.
attorney.
Brown is Jane's attorney.
Mhm.
Okay. So you'll take the next one and I'll take the one after you.
Wait, I'm doing the next one after this?
You're
Okay.
doing Mr. Brown, SpongeBob.
Okay, so he's going
Oh,
now.
I'm doing Mr. Brown.
Yeah, you're gonna be
All right.
representing Jane. You're gonna be the
Okay.
lawyer.
All right.
And then you can be Pauline and I'll be Nia.
Okay.
All right, cool.
May I approach, Your Honor? Yes. Identify yourself, please. Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Attorney Christopher Brown, and I'm representative of Jane. I'm going to read the prepared statement that my client provided to me. As I reflect on the thought of preparing this statement, my hands begin to shake and my heart pounds in my chest. Just writing this is stressful. Well, I think of all that I have lost due to Robert Kelly. All I can do is cry. I have lost my dignity to Robert Kelly. I have lost my dreams to Robert Kelly. I have lost my teenage years to Robert Kelly. I have lost my father due to Robert Kelly. And I almost lost my entire family due to suicidal thoughts caused by Robert Kelly. I will never get back what Robert Kelly took from me. As a teenager, I wanted to be a star. Music was my life, and I loved performing. I really believed I had a future as a recording artist. I never thought that my first love, music, would lead to the darkness that I experienced for over a decade and almost killed me. When your virginity is taken by a pedophile at the age of 14 and you live for him, your life is never your own. I don't know how Robert Kelly was able to obtain so much power over me. At first, I believed he could help me in my music career and that he cared about me. That could not have been more wrong. During my teenage years, I had sex with Robert Kelly hundreds of times, even when I didn't want to. It is still disturbing to me that millions of people have seen the sex tape that Robert Kelly made of me as a child. I will never be able to unsee, unthink, or be unaffected by the child pornography in which I was enticed to engage in. I thought Robert loved me to do the things he did, and to do the things he did. I can't see the next word. I think it's he. He, in fact, loathed me. I can't imagine. Can you scroll up, please? I can't imagine treating anyone that I love the way that Robert treated me. Looking back at it, I was only one of the girls, women to be abused by Robert. I didn't realize until I graduated from high school that I didn't make music for years while Robert was in my life. And that was the main reason I began to associate with Robert. Robert was abusive and dominating. The rules that I was forced to follow for years because I believed I needed Robert were degrading. Sometimes I couldn't eat for days. No bodily harm. Sometimes I couldn't go to the bathroom without his permission. I don't know what the judge is thinking on this bodily harm. Okay. Sometimes I had to go to the bathroom in a bucket. Sometimes I had to have sex with women. It's hard to believe that Robert had that much power over me. Robert knowingly victimized me as a child. I was brainwashed by Robert and a sex slave. He had no remorse, and history has shown that there were women after me who suffered the same fate. Robert made me suicidal as a young adult. It is awful being me. I gave up my family for him. Nothing else mattered back then, and I still don't know why. I love my music, but by the time I was 16, 17 years of age, the only thing that mattered was him. I was manipulated, and independence didn't seem like an option. Robert shattered me. I need closure, and I need Robert Kelly in jail for as long as the law will allow. He shouldn't be able to harm anyone ever again. I wish I was strong enough to speak up sooner. I just didn't have the strength. I have been permanently scarred by Robert emotionally, physically, mentally, and socially. I will forever be the girl that R. Kelly pissed on. Every time I walk into a room, it feels like the child pornography tapes arrive a couple minutes before I do. I am rarely seen. Child pornography tapes have predetermined the attraction that I have with society. I keep a small circle because Robert has proved to me that I can't trust many people. I am 38 years old and learned sex through the lens of a pedophile. I have never had a loving romantic relationship with a man that lasted longer than a year. I have been bullied on social media and looked upon as the problem because I was victimized as the child. In what world does that make sense? Despite all of the things that Robert did to me, today members of his team and those that support him still attack me. There's documented tapes establishing the horrible experiences that is actually my life. The public sees child pornography. The world does not see the depression and the thoughts in my mind that would give anyone pause that I could ever lead a normal life. I have never been able to experience normal. My teenage years and adulthood have been built through the lens of a pedophile. It is awful living life, not knowing that you can't trust yourself because you are unaware exactly how fractured and broken you are. No amount of therapy will make me normal. The best I can hope is to properly is to properly function and deal with the brokenness that is my life. Is that fair? But if you ask Robert Kelly's legal team, I am the problem. I am deceitful. I am the liar. Let me be clear. Robert Kelly is no saint. Does anyone really believe that Robert is not in those child pornography tapes? Does anyone believe Robert did not entice a young girl and destroy her life? Does anyone believe that what happened to me was okay? I think the answer is no. But if I was to listen to Robert's team, I would be the 14-year-old girl again, being enticed to continue down a socially destructive path. And the pedophile will still be in control of my life. I made the decision some years ago to take control of my broken life. It is extremely hard, but it's the only life I have. I make decisions in my own time frame. I try to review all the possible results with as much certainty as possible before I decide what to do. It only seems right. I try to be more methodical because following passion for my first love, music, broke me beyond repair. Another mistake like that will kill me. Robert is not worth dying over. I cannot escape the psychological prison Robert has put me in. Robert Kelly needs to be in jail for the balance of his natural born life. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Before I say that, I just want to say that I know the herpes wasn't a part of this trial, but that in itself is bodily harm.
Good
And
point.
also, I wish she would have been there to read that because there's no way he would have got the same sentence. I don't think. I would hope not.
Yeah, I would. I think she should have been there. I agree. That was a
I think she would have
mistake.
broke down and the judge would have felt more, even more lenient, more empathetic towards her.
Right.
I think so too. The judge is human, right? So
Right. Right.
when the person doesn't show up, I mean, it's hard to
I mean, it's
empathize through a third party. It's
understandable.
harder to empathize through. It's not hard to,
It,
but harder.
It's
it's
harder, yeah, because you want to get the person's natural reaction.
right.
Yeah.
And it's completely understandable why she did not want to be there.
Of
Oh,
But
course.
yeah, I
She didn't
but
agree
want to
too.
face him doing that.
I think
Right.
it hurt her in the
Of
long run
course.
though.
She still loved him in the end. She was still talking to him until 2019, so he got locked up.
Yep.
And she was still talking to him while he was locked up.
Yep.
So, like she said, he became her life. She had nobody else to depend on but him because her life was destroyed because the whole world seen what he did to her.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with some of these supporters who are awful people.
Yeah.
Like that probably another reason she didn't want to come. I'm not saying all the supporters are awful, but some of them are, and
A lot of them are.
yeah,
The
and
They're out
she,
majority
here
of them
making fun of
are.
them,
I'm,
laughing at them,
I'm sure that
calling them names.
I'm sure that played a part here in her not coming, which is very unfortunate.
I
Right.
just wish she would have got something, some restitution, because
Yeah.
I said if she
Yeah.
had got that money that the government was asking for, she should leave this country and start a
She
new
and
life.
I'm surprised she didn't get any type of therapy. Her parents didn't put her in any type of therapy.
Yeah, that is shocking.
Really shocking.
It is. It's terrible.
We
You know
also
what I
have
mean? Like,
we do have an issue in this country though. A lot of people are against mental health care. It's a
oh
very
wow.
um, weird thing, in my opinion. It's like you break your arm, you would obviously go to the hospital, right?
Right.
So it's mental health care to me is the same way. It's like if you have a, an episode in your life or depression or anxiety that's severe and crippling, it's just like a medical illness. You should go to the doctor. You should go see a therapist and get some help and
Yeah.
talk things out.
You see how she said he just like ruined her whole life, man?
Yeah, he
And
did.
even though she wasn't there, the judge still made it seem like it was okay because they were in a relationship. It was loving.
Yeah,
There's
I
nothing
I just
loving
that
about
shocked me.
this. It's
Reading that
abuse.
shocked me.
Crazy, right?
But yeah, I'll go ahead
That's
and
crazy.
start back up.
All right. So you're
I'm
gonna do
supposed to do
Nia,
this one,
Mama,
right?
or you're gonna do Pauline. You wanna do Nia? Because you said you were
Uh,
getting ready to go. So you wanna do Nia?
uh, I, I don't know. I played Pauline in the first one, so what do you think?
All right. So then I guess I'll do Nia and then you could do Pauline.
Okay,
All right, Mama. All right.
Your
So let me
Honor,
go to the
Nia will
paper.
be heard from next.
Fine. Good morning.
Good morning. I was 15 years old when I met you. I saw you from across the mall. I was so excited. You were one of my favorite singers. My heart felt like I was going to explode the closer I got to you. I could not believe you were there. How lucky I felt, like a starstruck teenager. I ran over to you. I felt giddy and full of joy, and I was visibly nervous. I asked you for your autograph, but you gave me your phone number and a lifetime full of self doubt, embarrassment, and rejected sense of self worth. When I met you, I was a pleasant faced, skinny, shapeless teenager who mostly undeveloped and looked much younger than my age. I was very anxious and very nervous child. I wasn't shapely like my peers, and I often got teased for my unflattering skinny appearance. There was no mistake I looked like a child. Within minutes after meeting you, you invited me and my friend to your concert that night. I was over the moon happy. For once in my lifetime, someone other than my family thought that I was special. I wanted to scream out loud, R. Kelly thinks I'm special. I'm not just plain or insignificant or invisible. He picked me. He wants me. I desperately wanted to go to the concert, but my friend refused to go. The next day, I built up enough courage to call and apologize for not making it. I fully expected that you would not answer your phone, but you did answer, and my heart dropped to the bottom of my toes. The conversation was brief, but you seemed interested in talking to me again. I hung up the phone and my heart began to flutter. While my head filled with childish dreams of you and me being together, we spoke a few more times on the phone. Each time I could feel myself falling deeper and deeper. I knew nothing about love, romance, or how to please a man. I only knew that I did not want to disappoint you. I came from a single family, single mother home, and my mom did the best she could by raising us. But she was not rich, and she had to work long hours and sometimes night shifts just to be able to make ends meet. I'm sure it was easy to see that my family struggled financially, and at this time, I would have done anything to maintain his attention, including lying to my mother. To this day, I still regret. Eventually, Rob invited me to his Minnesota concert. Transportation and hotel, the concerts, the tickets were all prearranged. When the limo pulled up at my home, I felt like I was Cinderella going to a ball. After the concert, I went back to the hotel and waited for you. I was hungry and I did not have any money. I didn't know about room service. I kept telling myself that I need to just stay calm and not panic like a child. I eventually fell asleep, telling myself that you must have been very busy. The next morning, when you came to my hotel room, you demanded, requested, I remove my clothes and walk. I awkwardly did what I was told to do. You had me to lay on the bed while you molested me and pleased yourself. After you put your clothes back on and left without saying a word, I met you again, this time in Chicago, at your recording studio, and you told me to come alone. But I disobeyed and brought my cousins. Once again, you got me alone and you groped me and sent me on my way. I felt used. I felt rejected in every way imaginable. And the next time we saw each other, I was a woman. I was a talent in one of your videos. I had grown into my long, lanky body and was no longer awkward. But regardless of how beautiful I may have been on the outside, I was completely damaged by you on the inside. You looked at me as if you could recognize me, but you acted as if I disgusted you and looked away. This emotional pain lingered in me all the way up until the day I testified against you in court. It was like a light turned on and I could finally see you for who you are. You were disgusted by me, not because I did something wrong, but because I grew up into a woman. I no longer looked like a child, but a mature, curvy woman. And you were only interested in children. Robert, for years, you made me feel like there was something wrong with me. Now, you are here in this courtroom in front of this judge because there is something wrong with you. No longer will you be able to harm anyone's children. No longer will you be able to go to shopping malls and pick up a child for the night. I'm not a revengeful or hateful person, but I highly suggest you spend every day in jail praying to God and asking Him for forgiveness. No child should have to suffer self hate like the way you made me suffer. I felt used. I felt worthless. I felt foolish. For the next 20 years of my life, I would wonder what I did wrong and why I wasn't good enough for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. You'll hear from Pauline next. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have once loved Robert for many, many years. We had a solid friendship. I thought I was going to conquer the world with him. Funny, I did not such things. I'm here today just seeking restitution for the years 2008 through 2014 for seeing my therapist. My insurance covered a few appointments, but not all. I was going through therapy twice a month and they only covered 4 visits. How great is insurance? I thank Thrive because they have helped me during some of the darkest places in my life. West Valley helped me a lot during the time I lived in LA. All I would like is for continuing mental health help. I stopped working for years because I felt less than. When I had my son, I was actually super healthy, no complications during my pregnancy, and I had a strong delivery. However, I could not handle the thought of being away from my child, the things that might could happen at a school or daycare facility. He was too young to talk. My life is hard when you think about when all you think about is someone possibly harming your child because the things that has happened to you. I felt as though I was doing well with my life, learning to cope with things as much as I could. I had started teaching because I wanted to make a difference for other children. I would call myself the children whisperer because I refused to let any child get left behind. I was making over 50K a year. When I was so emotionally not in a good place, I had to stop working. I really needed to stop working because I refused to go back to that dark place I was once at. Blood, sweat, and tears, day by day, I crawled myself out of that depression, and I learned that no one could take that away from me. All I want in life is to feel a little less stressed. I enjoy spending time with my family. My family is my entire world. I don't think without them I would be standing here today. I have had those dark thoughts of suicide. I have had those dark thoughts of nobody loving me. Let's just say this, Your Honor. I did not know what I would do without my current husband. I never even thought that would be a possibility for someone like me to be able to be married or even if I deserve to be a wife because of the past trauma that I experienced with Rob and the way he played me online for years. I didn't think that I could be right for anyone else besides him. Trust me, that's not a good conversation piece when trying to date. People just simply jump to conclusions and think bad stuff about you before they even know anything about you. I've lived with this secret for years and could never open up to a person. I've always held back to my harsh realities, not feeling worthy, not feeling good about myself, feeling just overall gross. I had reached a place in my life that I was determined to finally live, to finally thrive. I was determined not to let my past determine my future. I would no longer play victim and I would take ownership of being a victim. So I told myself that the next person that God allowed me to meet, which was my husband, I would give him the true version of myself, regardless of what he thought of me. At least it would be, I would finally Pauline living in her truth. And guess what? He actually loved me. He loved my honesty. He loved my realness, and it was a lot for him to take at one time. But he helped me go to therapy starting back in 2015 that he paid for out of his pocket. That's how I knew it was real. He knew I wasn't okay and that we needed couples therapy if we were going to make this thing work. I'm truly blessed and grateful because not everyone that came out of this situation has been blessed to find love. I have lost so much due to this. My best friend in the whole wide world, Jane, we do not talk to this day because Robert pinned us against each other. Our children will never grow up together going to birthday parties, and that's something money just can't buy. I can never get those years back with the person I felt was my bestest friend in the whole wide world. I've lost so many friends along the way due to their feelings regarding this case. I feel as though I've lived a double life my entire life, being that my family knows nothing of what I was going through. That is not easy to deal with, dealing with mental health issues as well. My children can't even have regular childhood experiences like sleepovers because I refuse to allow my children to go into people's houses. I don't trust anyone with my children because I know firsthand where that can go. I just can't see how a person can sit and not feel any bad or remorse for his behavior. Meanwhile, he's just rich and living his best life while there's a lot of us out here suffering. I'm trying my best to live a productive life to the best of my ability in this crazy world. I'm mentally drained, but I do keep trying to keep it together and function on a daily basis because I look at my children and I know that it's possible. It is possible to continue and to push through anything that you have gone through, and it does not have to be the end of your story. I simply am taking full control of my narrative, and I will change it every day, step by step. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the government wish to address me on the appropriate?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor.
Proceed, counsel.
Based on the 3553A factors, a significant sentence is warranted in this case, a sentence of 300 months. And yes, that sentence must be run consecutive to the sentence that he received in New York. A significant sentence that is sufficient but not greater than necessary is a sentence that would effectively confine the defendant to prison for the rest of his life. There are three things that anchor the government's request: the seriousness of the defendant's conduct, that is, the absolute depravity of preying on children to meet his sexual desires, the adequate deterrence and protection for the public because the defendant for decades has been sexually abusing girls intentionally and with willful disregard, meaning that he knew what he was doing was wrong and criminal and he did it anyway. And third, the need for the sentence imposed to reflect the seriousness of the offense, or in other words, justice for his victims. Now, the government is not going to reiterate our sentencing memo, but we will take this time to offer the court key takeaways from the sentencing memos which support an above guideline sentence. First, the seriousness of the defendant's conduct. The defendant inflicted deep, deep wounds on three women: Jane, Pauline, and Nia. You heard in their own words that they will never heal from those scars. At trial, Your Honor heard each of these women relive the heinous things that he did to them when they were children. For the rest of their lives, they will have to deal with feelings of distrust, victimhood, and worst of all, unwarranted shame for what he did to them when he should be the one expressing shame for what he did. But to this day, he refuses to show any shame, any remorse. What he have heard instead is turning the tables on the victims, blaming them for his conduct. The focus should be on the defendant's conduct. Your Honor heard Jane testify for how he lured her, a child, into hundreds of sexual encounters.
Let me ask you one question. You said blaming them for his conduct. Where did
Yes, Your Honor. In the defendant's counsel's words in his sentencing memorandum, he pointed to Nia wanting to engage in the relationship with him because she wanted an autograph from him, and that describing Jane's relation, his sexual abuse in Jane as a relationship with him.
I'll address this, Judge, but
Your Honor, can I finish?
go ahead?
Can I finish? Thank you. Your Honor heard Jane testify how he lured her into hundreds of sexual encounters, how he gave her alcohol and showed her pornography, how at nearly 30 years old he took her virginity when she was 15, how he used her to lure other young girls other children to engage in threesomes. At 14 and 15 years old, these girls were engaging in threesomes with a grown man. And perhaps worst of all, videos 1, 2, and 3 show how he used Jane as a sex prop, as a thing for his child pornography videos that he directed and recorded, forever memorializing his abuse. In video 1, which has been widely circulated and in a horrible way has become part of the social record, is something that Jane will have hanging over her head for the rest of her life, as you heard her statement. And Your Honor, you cannot tell the story of Jane without also talking about the obstructive conduct that Kelly engaged in to save himself from prosecution. You heard Jane testify how he lied on the grand how she lied for him in the grand jury back in 2002.
Objection.
That transcript,
Jane never testified before the grand
Your Honor,
jury.
that transcript was
Well,
a
proceed.
an exhibit.
I heard the trial, so go ahead.
The transcript was an exhibit at the trial. She lied at Kelly's direction, and her parents, they lied about seeing their daughter in video 1 because they were scared to go against Kelly's power, money, and influence. The obstructive conduct is exactly the type of conduct that warrants an enhanced sentence because it is designed to thwart any law enforcement efforts to hold him accountable for his abuse of Jane. He made a mockery of justice to protect himself and his career. But now a jury has spoken, and now is the time for justice. At his sentence, in light of the 3553A factors, should reflect all of the conduct surrounding his criminal sexual abuse of Jane, including obstruction. Pauline also has emotional scars she carries to this day from Kelly's manipulation and sexual abuse of her when she was 14. Kelly used her for sex acts hundreds of times and convinced her that it was their secret to be kept from everyone else. As you heard her tell you today the toll of keeping Kelly's secret, what that has exacted on her life. And Nia, a child in the mall, as she said, excited to see a superstar, not knowing that her innocent request for an autograph would lead to her being alone with a man in this hotel room while he sat on the bed next to her and masturbated, or that it would lead to her being on the hallway of his studio where he put his hands down her pants and up her shirt, fondling her. The defense, in their papers, make a point of emphasizing that Kelly's abuse of Nia was isolated, quote, and merely a two-time occurrence and did not involve anything more than touching. This is an attempt to minimize defendant's conduct. As you heard from Nia, one cannot quantify the trauma of sexual abuse. Nia's trauma is real and lasting. The fact that it happened twice doesn't change the fact that she was a child when it happened and that to this day, she's dealing with the fallout of the way he manipulated and shamed her. Standing alone, a sentence of 300 months appropriately accounts for the indescribable harm defendant has caused to Jane, Pauline, and Nia. As to the adequate deterrence and protection from the public, defendant's conduct, as shown in this case, is far from being a one time mistake. Defendant's sexual abuse of minors is intentional and prolific. He stands before you a 56-year-old man who has proven that he cannot control his impulses and that even in the case of clear signs that his conduct is criminal, including obtaining false documentation to marry a 15-year-old and knowing that authorities were investigating allegations of his sexual misconduct of Jane. Even in the face of those clear signs, he refused to control himself. Take, for example, how with careful deliberation in the videos he fixed the camera on Jane's face, knowing she was 14 years old. He also ensured that the camera caught his own face. The conduct speaks volumes about his complete failure to grasp the gravity of the harm he was causing and how beyond the reach of the law he thought he was. A defendant that brazen demands a substantial and significant sentence in order to promote respect for the law, and protect the public. Defendant's sexual desire and interest in young girls hasn't gone away. It is what he has been doing for most of his adult life and what makes him a danger to society. His refusal to accept responsibility for his actions that dates back to at least 2008 when he pressured Jane and her parents to lie in a state grand jury and continues to this day. The arguments advanced by his counsel in his sentencing papers that deflects blame for defendant's conduct on everyone but him. His lack of acceptance of responsibility for his criminal conduct, even despite unassailable video evidence of that conduct, demonstrates that he possesses a great risk of recidivism. Now, the
That's
government.
correct.
Okay, that was a hard one. Now, the government recognizes that before stardom, the defendant had a difficult upbringing, including instability in the home, learning challenges, and sexual abuse he suffered as a child. Separately and combined, these circumstances present serious challenges. However, none of those mitigating factors overcome the aggravating refusal to accept responsibility and lack of remorse, and the decades of conduct that demonstrate that he possesses a great risk of recidivism and danger to the community. The reality is that the defendant had multiple chances to break a harmful cycle that began with his own abuse, but instead he chose to perpetrate it. Defendant's unrelenting abuse of girls and women and his refusal to acknowledge his criminal conduct and the harm he has caused demonstrates that he cannot be deterred. And the only way to ensure he does not reoffend is to impose a sentence that will keep him in prison for the rest of his life. And finally, the need for the sentence imposed to reflect the seriousness of the offense. In other words, justice for the defendant's victims. For all the reasons discussed today and set forth in the government's papers, the 3553A factors warrant a sentence of 300 months, and that sentence must run consecutive to the sentence in New York. It must do so for these victims to receive justice. Simply put, their harms are distinct from and distant and different from those victims in the New York case. Substantial incremental, excuse me.
Incremental.
Thank you. Punishment is necessary in this case to account for his sexual abuse of Jane, Pauline, and Nia, who were not a part of the New York case in any way. For all those reasons in the government's papers, Kelly's sentence needs to reflect the seriousness of the lifelong harm he caused to Jane.
Let me ask you, excuse me,
Yes,
can I interrupt one question? If they weren't, I appreciate that. And I appreciate it in two respects that they weren't tried together, but they could have been tried together. It would have made a 1 month trial into a 2 month trial, but they could have been tried together, though, correct?
yes, Your Honor.
And you would have to have a huge, I mean, the sentence would not be any higher than 360 to life, correct?
If they were all tried together?
Yeah. If this case, our case, had been tried with New York, by the time you got through the guideline calculations, it would have cut off at 360 to life, wouldn't it?
The guidelines likely would have been life.
It was.
360 months, which is a lot less than 650.
Yes, Your Honor. However, the sentence that the New York court ultimately imposed, we don't know that that could have been or would have been given the increased harm. There's no, if you will, volume discount for the number of victims
I understand that.
that you.
But she, Judge Donnelly, did have an upward departure, correct?
I believe so, Your Honor.
I believe, I don't remember what.
No, Your Honor. I apologize. No, Your Honor. The guidelines were 360 to life, and I believe he received the within guidelines range
She gave him
sentence.
360 months, and the guidelines were what? 250 to something? Anybody know?
Hold on a second, Your Honor.
My only point, and I don't like to interrupt you, my only point was that if it had been tried together, the guideline, well, it could have been life, I guess, but
They would have been life.
life is life. Okay.
The point is that you didn't, despite that the guidelines range may have been, the court gets to decide in that range and on that continuum.
Yeah, it could have. I mean, I read somewhere that some judges have given 7,000 months to defendants that they thought were particularly bad, which just, I guess, to make a point. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, Your Honor. The point being that the point being is that even if this case was, these particular victims were included in that case, it doesn't mean that his sentence would have been the same as it was in New York. There could have and there should right rightly been an increase, substantial incremental increase for the harm.
The judge could have given a higher sentence than she actually did. I appreciate that. I'm just saying. But you're asking for 650 months,
We're asking for 300 months.
300 plus the 350.
It would run consecutive to the New York sentence.
Yeah. If we do that, then in effect, he's getting a sentence of 650 months, correct? My math is right, I'm sure.
Yes, Your Honor. However, standing alone, he is warranting, his conduct is warranting of a 300-month sentence. So, yes, Your Honor, considering that that would run consecutive, that's the amount of time, yes, that he would be looking at.
I think I have your point.
Yes, Your Honor. The consecutive sentence sends the message to the defendant and the public, and
Right.
most importantly, the victims, that the incremental harm that he inflicted upon them is worthy of incremental punishment.
Mm.
The reality is that the defendant put himself in this position. If he hadn't obstructed the initial prosecution by the state, or had he learned from that experience and changed his conduct, he would not have wound up in this position. And that
Mm.
is two cases and the prospect of consecutive sentences. The posture we are in now demands that the court focus remains on ensuring that the sentence imposed here, standing on its own, sufficiently protects the public from defendants' unrepentant exploitation of children and provides justice to the victims that he
Right.
harmed by his actions in this case. And Your Honor can do that by imposing the 300-month sentence that the government is requesting, even partially consecutive to the sentence that is in New York. The crimes that the defendant committed with respect to Jane, Pauline, and Nia are deserving of a 300-month sentence on their own, and the law allows for such a sentence. And the current guidelines are an appropriate benchmark for which to guide the court again under the 3553A factors to see how a 300-month sentence is appropriate. For all the reasons discussed today in the government sentencing memorandum, the government is asking for a sentence of 300 months to run consecutive to the defendant's sentence in New York. This type of sentence is sufficient, but not greater than necessary to accomplish the goals of sentencing. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Bonjean?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. The first category of information that this court will have to look at is, of course, the nature and circumstances of the offense or offenses. It is wrong to suggest that Mr. Kelly, either Mr. Kelly individually or through his counsel, is in any way engaging in victim blaming or attempting to even quarrel with the fact that the jury accepted in their sentencing memorandums. It is not reflected in our papers. The fact that we took a position that fear wasn't involved in not victim blaming. It is our argument about what enhancements should apply and what enhancements shouldn't apply. what the evidence actually showed, what the relationships really were, and the court heard the testimony. As the court is aware, the relationship with Jane, yes, we saw the videos. Not once in our sentencing papers, not once has anyone, even frankly, through trials, said that's not him, that's not her, we didn't do that, we did not do that. And we made a calculated choice. So, this is not victim blaming. This is just an effort to suggest that Mr. Kelly is somehow not rehabilitated or not capable of rehabilitation because he lacks remorse. So, it's just not true. The court cannot identify a single sentence in our sentencing papers where we are saying the jury got this wrong or the jury got that wrong. We made those arguments. We accept that they were rejected. There may be a time to make those arguments in the appellate court if we think the sufficiency of the evidence was lacking. But for sentencing purposes, that is not what we have engaged in. This idea that he has failed to accept responsibility, now the government knows that's not true. And the government knows, and I don't like to bring this up, but the government knows why we had a trial. And it is not because Mr. Kelly was not willing to take responsibility for conduct that he was willing to take responsibility for, as opposed to acquitted conduct that the government continues to want to rely on to enhance his sentence. Now, it is no question that the counts related to Jane are serious, but it is also undisputed that relationship was far more complicated than the government wants to admit. The relationship with Pauline, far more complicated than the government wants to admit. No one is suggesting that the proofs did not persuade a jury that he is guilty of those counts. And we accept the seriousness of those counts. But whenever you're speaking about seriousness of offense, it is on the continuum. The government has us looking at cases like this Osborne case as some type of comparison, where Osborne was trafficking children over Facebook and having sex with them and recording it and selling videos. This is not the same type of conduct. I'm not suggesting it minimizes Mr. Kelly's conduct. I'm saying that we still have to actually look at the conduct here. Mr. Kelly, again, there is no question that if the video was never made, it could never have made its way into the public sphere. We do not deny that. We said it. It is also the case that Mr. Kelly is not the person that put the video into the public sphere. If he had, I'm sure the government would be arguing that as a point of aggravation, other people were responsible for that. Jane's own aunt, as she testified to. And the point is not to minimize his conduct, but it is also to put it in context where that is what we are permitted to do at sentencing, to say, yes, it's bad, but these are the ways in which it could have been worse. That is how we look at conduct. Now, you heard testimony about Kelly and Jane's relationship that lasted all the way to 2019. Now, I am not suggesting that her statement here today is not valid or that she does not feel the way she does, but there was, and Pauline even said it today, there was more to that relationship. It started out as unlawful conduct and it morphed into a relationship that even Pauline described today as a friendship. I thought we had something. And now, in hindsight, I look back and I say, when I have my own kids, this was so wildly inappropriate. And of course, a jury found it illegal. We are not denying any of that, but to compare this to someone who is trafficking children that they've never met, taking pornography of prohibited sexual activity with children and selling it all over the country, as the government tries to compare this case to, is not fair either. So we have to look at the specific conduct here. And yes, the court has an obligation to hold him responsible. The court has an obligation to put weight on that conduct and to find. And we agree, it's serious conduct, but it isn't what the government tells it. Tells the court that it is. And Nia, it is a less serious count. I'm sorry. We're not trying to minimize it, but it is a less serious count. This was a two-time encounter that the one he's charged for was a 2-minute interaction in the hallway, which again, you can't even make these arguments without being accused of victim blaming, which is not quite fair. But let's be real. The conduct of touching, fondling Nia, who was 15 or 16, depending on when it happened that summer, in the hallway, is not the same type of conduct, even compared to Jane. So, I think we do need to continue to keep this in perspective. Yes, the court should look at the seriousness of the offenses, but also realize and recognize that, and the court, I'm sure, has heard many cases that this is not akin to the type of conduct, for instance, that the government referenced in this Osborne case. Now, if the court will indulge me 1 second. The government also, again, puts a lot of emphasis on this obstruction count, for which Mr. Kelly was acquitted. And the court heard from Jane. The court heard from Jane's mother. Again, because this was a complex relationship with the complicity of parents, frankly, that this wasn't Mr. Kelly obstructing as much as a family deciding that they did not want to participate in the criminal justice process at the time. Now, when I asked Jane's mother, are you saying that you did this? You didn't participate because Mr. Kelly was going to pay you money or anything like that. She said, no. Jane herself said, I have my own reasons and we understand that. And that doesn't take responsibility off him, but it is not obstruction, which is why the jury didn't find obstruction. It's ironic that the prosecutor says, and the jury has spoken. Yes, they did speak. They spoke. And he was acquitted of that conduct. One argument that the government continues to advance, which is just simply untrue, is that Mr. Kelly cannot control myself. Cannot control himself. Yeah, Mr. Kelly can't control himself. Pervert ass motherfucker. I just had to say that because reading this is just, I'm just being character right now. And I just had to get out of character because this bitch is getting me upset. But I'm reading it anyway. Fuck Bone Jean and her whole team. Okay, let's continue. I think Miss Penteg said his interest in young women has not gone away. Where's the proof? This is conduct from
Azriel.
the late 90s. Bob?
Azriel's the proof.
Right. They have not identified a single case where that conduct continued after his acquittal. Not one. I think there was Rhonda Pace.
Rhonda.
I think there was the boys that happened while he was waiting on trial. While he was waiting for the 2008 trial, he met the boys.
Yep.
2006.
At McDonald's.
Right, at McDonald's. Right. So he was doing misconduct while he was out on bail.
It had Jamie
waiting for his trial. And then after his trial continued with Kitty Jones, Geronda Pace, who was the other girl in 2013? I can't think. La Loca Esa, Ashanti McGee, and so forth. It's Azriel, Joy. Like, what are we talking about here?
What about that girl he raped in Utah?
What about the other girls?
Tanya.
The other one. The one that with Cheryl Mack. What's her name? The Way Girl.
Oh, Precious Way.
Esa también. Okay? So I don't know what Bonjean you'll be talking about, girl. So, and yeah, so Bob, it's your turn. Go ahead. You guys want to jump in and chime in on all that? Please feel free. We're on page 50.
I just want to say that it is obvious from his years of these discretions that he cannot control himself.
That's right.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think what they're playing to is probably the judges, old-fashioned thinking from when he was young.
Yeah, he's very senile.
Yeah, what do you think about the judge's reaction?
I don't like him anymore.
What do you think about the judge's reaction, Caleb?
I was so upset reading that, and then him going back and forth with the government. I'm like, are you serious, man?
Right.
He's
trying to make... I think it's obvious he wanted to give some leniency, and leniency is anything less than life here.
Right. Now, the crazy shit that he was trying to say to the prosecutors was like, well, don't you think that in the Eastern District of New York should never had my thing, this is what I think he was saying in his head, right? I think that this case should never have came to Chicago to trial to fruition. It should have just all happened in New York.
Yep, that's exactly
absolutely.
What he was
He was saying those cases should have been won.
Right.
And he should have gotten life in New York, and you shouldn't have bothered me with it.
Right. You shouldn't have bothered me with this bullshit because now I'm just going to give him a light sentence.
Yep.
Well, not really light, but yeah, light.
Yeah, lighter
compared
than New York
to
gave him, in other words.
Anything less than life.
Yeah. And I'm going to run them concurrently.
Right.
Except for 1 year.
1 year. I'm just going to give you 1 year. Like, he was being a real dick. I'm sorry.
Well, I can't say that about a judge. But
anyway, right. I know you can't. You work for the law. It's okay, brother. I'm going to say it for you.
Well, let's just say I think like he got some things wrong. Well, that's not entirely true because in the PSI, and again, I'm relying upon Mr. Alpert's summary of the New York case. There's several of the victims in New York, which was, I think one of them was as late as 2016.
Yes, but those weren't. Okay, love?
I'm here.
You a pen take.
Oh, excuse me. Actually, Your Honor,
Minors, Your Honor.
No,
Yeah.
I understand that.
Okay.
Your Honor, there is a minor that was convicted. Is that what that says? Convicted
Yes,
under
mama.
for
Yes,
which
mama.
for
Yes.
which the conduct he was convicted in 19. The conduct with that minor occurred after the 2008 trial. She was 16, 17 when she met him, Geronda Pace. She was even younger than that.
Yeah, she was younger.
Right. She was actually 14 when she met him, but she was 16 when she had sex with him.
Yep.
Uh, that wasn't after. I'd be happy to address that, Your Honor.
All
Oh,
right.
God.
Oh, not after what?
Right.
It was
What?
exactly after.
2009 to be
Or
exact.
or
To
during? That partially during.
2010. What? Ms. Bonjean says there is in the New York case, there is a 1990, I think 6 or 7, and then with this Geronda Pace testimony, this was prior 2006, 2007 to his acquittal.
She's
Bullshit.
lying. She's
You're
lying.
lying.
What? She was there at the trial.
She's lying. Point being is if there was any conduct that postdated the late 90s of producing child pornography, abusing minors, I think they would have brought that in this indictment or the other indictment. I'm not talking about. You're right. The court is correct. There were allegations about Mr. Kelly's conduct.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
prohibited.
That's basically what I meant.
Yes, and that's fair. And I'm not trying to mislead the court on that. Right, bullshit. But to say that he is a serial sexual predator of minors and that he cannot learn and that he's still a risk, my point is that the evidence has shown that there has not in at least 2 decades been a crime committed as to minors. So that is just not fair, which again doesn't mean he can't be or shouldn't be punished for the conduct for which he's been convicted here. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the history and the characteristics of Mr. Kelly because while on one hand, we all acknowledge the harm that child sexual abuse can cause, according to the victims, of course, it never goes away. It follows you for life. It impacts your life forever. I think one of the victims said, it changes your lenses through how you look at everything and it just never goes away. But for Mr. Kelly, apparently, he was supposed to overcome his child sexual abuse, and we can't even consider it as mitigation. There's a lot of lip service to it as being mitigation. Every prosecutor gives it one sentence, and then there's no additional really weight given to it. Well, mitigation is never an excuse. No one ever says it's an excuse for conduct. If it was, then it would be raised at trials and not at sentencing. But it does help the court weigh the evidence and also determine whether or not there are reasons for why people have made the decisions they have made and why they have gone about their lives in the way that they have. And Mr. Kelly's childhood, and they can say he should have overcome it. But according to their own witnesses, it's impossible to overcome, except when it's Mr. Kelly. What we have here is an individual that had a horrific childhood that shaped him, that shaped his view of women, that shaped his view of sex, that shaped his view of the world. This was, he was an 8-year old when he started being sexually abused as a child by not only a family member, but someone who groomed him. This abuse lasted for years. It included penetration, it included oral sex, anal penetration, nonstop for years by a sister and by a neighbor. We'll call him a neighbor. Mr. Kelly also was forced to take pictures of his sister having sexual relations with her cousin, who she eventually married. Oh, what?
Wow.
I didn't even know that. That must have been something that was redacted that was part of the other mitigation report.
You know, Diva, I just wonder, since his supporters claim all these victims are lying, how do we know that he's telling the truth?
Right. He could be lying just to make himself look good. Like, I had a problem too. That's why I do what I do, because I had a problem. And you know what? I've thought about it too, that this was a lie and that his brother Carrie and him concocted that shit after they kissed and made up, because then his book came out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. His
No,
book came out in 2012,
I
and
mean,
Demetrius
where's
Smith's
the?
book came out in 2011. So I think he was trying to follow behind Demetrius Smith to cover himself up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think happened.
I mean, where's his police reports? Who did
Right,
he tell?
right.
Just
Where's the
saying,
police
that's what
report
they
that little
say
girl
these girls
grew?
need to have. Where are his reports?
Yeah, where are his medical records? Where's his therapy? Where's all that? You know, where's the
Right.
proof?
Where's the records of what happened to that girlfriend, Lulu?
Yeah, there's no records of that either.
There's no record of that killing, accident, none of that. If
At
it was
this
an
point, it's
accident, it
looking
should have
like
been
he made
reported.
all this shit up.
Right. He could have made all that up just to protect his ass at the end of the day.
100%.
All right, so let's continue. Now, if that doesn't shape someone's worldview and life view, I don't know what would. Now, I don't bring this up to make excuses for his conduct, but I think you don't need to be a PhD to connect the dots here. And it is, in fact, a relevant point for mitigation. Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kelly's adverse childhood experiences are linked to his negative outcomes in adulthood. That's what every expert says. Their own experts have said that. It's not simply as he chose not to overcome it. It's not how it works. They know it's not how it works. Now, he grew up also in extreme poverty and not only experienced this horrific childhood sexual abuse himself, but witnessed violence in his home nonstop. It was so normalized that Mr. Kelly doesn't even consider it abnormal in a way. His mother, her husband, violently fighting each other. In fact, in one instance, his mother, who he adores, I want to make that very clear, what? Was
Oh, they,
fighting
they're
with
talking
her
about her.
husband. Right, K-Love.
They're talking about her husband Lucius that he didn't like.
Right, and his name is Lucius. Right. Sounds like he made up some story. Now, his mother, who he adores, I want to make that very clear. And I want to also make it very clear that his mother doesn't even have a headstone on her grave. Okay? That's how much he loves
Yeah,
her.
but he loved her
Right.
so much.
Right, right. So let's make that very clear. Now, was fighting with her husband, and somehow her dress got caught in a door, and he started driving away, a car door, and his children, her children, watch as their mother's being dragged down the street.
Hey,
This is,
Diva,
yeah.
I just wanted to bring this up too. I remember reading in Jim Derogatis' book that he bought himself a brand new Benz, and the mom was riding around in the car that had to be hot wired to get
A
started.
hoopty. She was driving a hoopty.
Yep. But he loved her so much.
Oh, so much that he bought her a new house, right?
Teresa.
Uh-huh.
Mm, mm, mm.
So this is the type of violence he grew up in. In fact, one time his mother accidentally stabbed him at the age of 16 because of some violence in the household. He was regularly disciplined with whips, switches, belts. This was normalized. And I want to make that very clear because he would be upset if I didn't. you know, that didn't change his love for his mother. She did the very best she could. But this is generational trauma. Generational trauma. So you can't just say, oh, he just could have overcome it. Clearly, there was premature sexualization in his life. There was a household with no boundaries when it came to sex. He was being molested by the age of 7 or 8, asked to take photos. He has significant mitigation that at least helps explain conduct. Not excuse, but explain. And the law and the sentencing guidelines tell this court that this is something that the court should take into account. Mhm. We also know from Dr. Dietz's reports that he was tested not too long ago, right before his Eastern District sentencing. He reads and writes at a first to third grade level. So illiteracy followed him his entire life, and it shaped him too. It prevented him from surrounding himself with people that might have been able to get him help. People who took advantage of him, who exploited him in adulthood. And then he rises up to stardom as a young kid with no experience in the world other than this horrific, traumatic experience. And it is no wonder that who he was in the late 90s evolved from that experience. Now, I ask this court to consider the reports that we submitted. I'm not going to belabor them. They were lengthy, they were complete, they were corroborated by collateral sources, meaning there were outside individuals who corroborated the evidence. And there is significant mitigation in this case. And I don't care whether he's 50 some years old. These are childhood adverse consequences that affect you through life. And that explains much of the conduct for which he was convicted here. And it is not accurate that through the last 20 years, he has been abusing 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds.
Let me know what the meaning is.
I'm not suggesting his relationships with women have not been, as the Eastern District jury found, inappropriate, illegal in some respects. But I think we do need to differentiate. And we've heard that he's a pedophile.
And the meaning is?
He's a pedophile. I just want the record to be clear.
He touched me.
I want David to shut the fuck up or I'm going to slap him. And we've heard that he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. I just want the record to be clear.
We're going to make a meeting.
There's no doctor, and he has been examined, that has ever said he is a pedophile. That is, he's a walking virus, David said. I just want the record to be clear. There's no doctor, and he has been examined, that has ever said he is a pedophile. Well, the doctor should have said he was a hepaphile.
Blah, blah, blah.
He's still a fucking predator at the end of the day. Who gives a fuck? This is a medical term that requires interest in prepubescent girls. So,
he also was interested in prepubescent girls. Remember that lady from R. Kelly who talked about how he was looking at her
daughter, right?
Her little
12
daughter.
years old,
Yeah,
right?
12 years old. I find it funny that she said that she doesn't care that he's 50-something years old. His age has been the whole problem this whole time.
Right. Like this bitch is weird. She's a weirdo.
She is.
What? I cannot.
I just wish the herpes was in this trial.
Oh, man. So, I just want that to be clear. That doesn't make it any less illegal. If someone's 14 or 15, I cannot with her. But it does not mean that someone is a pedophile. He's a hepaphile. You should have said the correct word, Bonjean. What are you doing? Then she continues to say, now, the mitigation is significant. And I now want to turn to the questions of this above guidelines range, above, I believe the statutory maximum for the top count is 20 years here. The government is they're really asking for a second life sentence. And it's unclear why. He only has one life to give. And it is not the case that victims are entitled to some number of years. Even a concurrent sentence acknowledges the harm that has occurred to the victims in this case. Bullshit, Bonjean. Bullshit. Now, for the court to impose a 300-month sentence, as the government requests, would require an extremely above guidelines range. Even probation does not recommend an above guidelines range in this case. Babe, roll a spliff. And I believe their requests hinge on two factors. One, this lack of remorse. And again, I don't want to beat this horse, but it is not the case that Mr. Kelly has shown lack of remorse in either his papers or anywhere. In fact, the government knows we tried very hard for Mr. Kelly to accept responsibility for certain conduct, and they wanted the trial, not us. Yeah, he's innocent, my ass. And this conduct that, excuse me, the government's acts for 300 months because of lack of remorse also infringes on his Fifth Amendment rights. Why? Mr. Kelly is still under indictment in Minnesota. He still has a serious essentiality life sentence in Eastern District. I don't know what they want from Mr. Kelly. Do they want him to come up here, take responsibility, and then get indicted in other jurisdictions for that evidence to be used against him? On the advice of counsel, I have advised him, and he's going to follow my advice, that he will not allocute here.
He needs a doctor.
But he would like to. He would like to very much. Now, the other factor that the government asked this court to essentially give an above guidelines range is to just look at the current offense levels for the conduct. Look at the current offense levels and consider those in determining an appropriate sentence here. Well, that's the one thing this court knows it cannot do. That is an ex post facto violation. They are making an end run around that. Even the case they cite, and this is an important point, United States versus Co. And it's a distinction they have not recognized. But what Co said is that when there's an aggravating element that was omitted as a sentencing factor in the applicable guidelines, a court can look at that aggravating element. Presumably, it's an element a court would consider as a sentencing factor anyway, and say, okay, yes, it was later codified. I see this element as a basis to raise the sentencing guidelines or upwardly depart. Co does not permit a court to simply say, oh, we punish the crime harsher now, so just apply the guidelines now to apply an upward variance. Co just apply the guidelines now to apply an upward variance. Co does not say anything of the sort. This was about aggravating elements that a court might have considered anyway in a sentencing factor. Babe, can you hook me up with some more water, please? What they're saying is, we just punish it more now. You should consider that. It's our position that would be a clear ex post facto violation. I believe we addressed this in our responsive papers, asking this court to upwardly depart or apply an upward, thank you, honey, variance based on acquitted conduct. I think runs afoul of a number of constitutional violations. For one thing, for the court to do that, it would take the crime outside the statutory maximum and would run afoul of apprendi. Not only
That's a case. I don't know how the case apprendi. I don't know. It's
right?
it's a case. It's a case she's talking about.
Okay.
It's apparently like a case related to sentencing guidelines, and it appears to me what she's arguing is that it'd be only very, very extraordinary circumstances would you go outside the guidelines.
Okay. Thank you for that, puppy. Not only did the jury get presented with the facts on obstruction, they acquitted him on that. So that cannot possibly be a basis to apply an upward variance. So the court's offense range that it articulated earlier, which I believe is 132 to 168 months.
135
135 to 168
to 168.
months is the applicable guideline range. There are not grounds for an upward variance, and we asked this court to reject the request from the government. And I, again, point out I didn't agree with a lot probation had to say, but that part I did agree with, that there's no grounds for an upward variance. The last thing I want to cover is the concurrent versus consecutive nature. The government concedes we didn't need to have this trial at all. This trial could have been brought, should have been brought in the Eastern District. Why? Because according to the government, the enterprise that Mr. Kelly purportedly engaged in included conduct that we heard here. That could have been raised here. I understand the government's point that this is not a clear double jeopardy problem. And I understand that the law would suggest that they had the right to do that. They could bring it in different jurisdictions. But as a matter of fairness, due process, to ask now enhanced punishment based on consecutiveness is unfair. And it is not justified. It is not warranted. The government points again to two factors that it wants this court to rely on in running the case consecutive. Again, we go back to his lack of remorse. I do not believe this court can find his lack of remorse as a grounds to run this case consecutive, particularly since Mr. Kelly is still under indictment. And the court does not have any reason to believe that he doesn't have remorse. He just is following his attorney's advice not to allocute, which, frankly, any attorney would give when someone is under pending indictment. Our papers have never suggested that he has not been convicted of a serious offense. So, to say he lacks remorse is a red herring. It's not true. They're not in his head. They don't know what he feels. And they don't know what he would say if they stopped indicting him and he had the opportunity to allocute. The other grounds that they identify for running this case, the sentence here consecutive, is that there just should be substantial incremental punishment for these victims. What that suggests is that a concurrent sentence would not address the harms that these victims talked about. Of course, a concurrent sentence would. In what world do we say that consecutive sentences is the only way to address the harms? Shh. Hello? Sorry about that, guys.
Bye. Say hello.
What that suggests is that a concurrent sentence would not address the harms that these victims talked about. Of course, a concurrent sentence would. In what world do we say that consecutive sentences is the only way to address the harms? He had a life sentence by all statistical measures. I think I cited it. African American men who have diabetes do not live into their 80s in prison. I mean, some do, but it is very much outside the statistical probabilities. I cannot with her.
Well, she just admitted he has a de facto life sentence.
He
Hey,
does.
SpongeBob, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What does allocute mean?
Admissions, like you're
Kind of like
confessing remorse, at least,
Right.
maybe
He
not
would never.
necessarily
He
of
would
the
never do
crime,
that.
but at least remorse and some guilt.
He would never
Right.
do that.
Yeah.
Even if he got acquitted, he wouldn't do
Well,
that.
yeah, the judge asked if he wants to speak, and he said no.
Hmm.
I think we're gonna take a quick break, guys. I need to take a quick break.
15-minute recess. Be back.
No, not 15 minutes.
How much more do we have, Diva? Do you want to take a break or do you just want to cut this as part one?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we should cut this as part one because let me see how many pages we got left now. All right, we're on page 60. So we would have 30 more pages.
These guys are doing good. You know how to read.
That sounds good to me.
Right. So what do you want to do? You want to quit it or should we just continue?
Quit
David wants to quit it because he wants to, have his room back.
Let's let the chat decide.
All right, guys. Yeah, let's let the chat decide. Guys, do you want to make this a part 2?
15 more pages.
Or do you want to continue the rest of the pages?
15 more pages.
The last 30 pages.
15 today, 15 tomorrow.
Put a 1 in the chat if you want to continue to part 2, or put a 2 in the chat if you want to continue reading.
Continue reading. You need your education, kids.
Okay, let's see what we got going on. All right, 1 says 1, part 2. Okay, so we'll do a part 2. 2 people say part 2. Last page is tomorrow. 1 says continue. 2 say continue. Okay, so we'll do a part 2 then, guys.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll do part 2, and I'll come early. Wait, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's March 1st.
Yeah.
I have an appointment tomorrow. What time is my appointment? I think my appointment's at 1:45 or something like that. So we'll do it in the afternoon when I come back from my appointment. So we'll start maybe like 4 p.m. or something like that, guys. Sounds good?
I might be able to help. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, you'll have to have a different judge because tomorrow I'll go back to work after taking like a day and a half off, and I'm gonna be fucking slammed tomorrow.
Okay, baby.
So probably someone else to be the good. I don't have to.
Maybe
I don't have to
come
fill.
on
I don't have
tomorrow
to.
if he's not busy.
I don't have to defile myself then by giving the actual lenient sentence. Good. Let someone else do that.
Right. Right. The worst is over, right?
Yeah.
No, the easy part is over. The worst is yet to come.
Right. Exactly.
There you go. Well, all right. So we're gonna leave it here. All right. I'm gonna continue reading the rest of this page, and I'm gonna leave it on page 60. All right.
So you said what time for tomorrow?
After 4 p.m.
I'll try.
All right. So when I
hang
come
out in the
back,
chat.
all right, mommy. So if you are here, it would be great if you came back. If not, hopefully somebody else could join in the crew. If not, I'll continue reading. And then, if somebody does decide to come in while I'm reading, it is what it is. I'm not scared to read. I know how to read. I could do this all by myself. You know what I mean? But it's easier with other people, and it sounds better when there's other people involved.
Right.
So, all right. So let me continue here. All right. He has a life sentence by all statistical measures. I think I cited it. African American men who have diabetes do not live into their 80s in prison. I mean, some do, but it is very much outside the statistical probabilities. And what they want is some type of symbolic sentence for themselves. That's why they want, and there is no justification for a consecutive sentence when he is already going to be serving what is tantamount to a life sentence. The victims are not in any way not recognized in this case because it's a concurrent sentence. Pauline, I think, mentioned he's out living his best life. He's in the MDC, where he's going to be in prison until he dies, probably, based on the existence sentence. I don't know how that's living your best life, you know. So to suggest that he's not being punished is just absurd, frankly. He is and he will be punished based on the sentence that came down in the Eastern District. He will be punished here based on this court's sentence. And I'm going to leave it there, guys. We're going to leave it at page 60. That's where we at. All right.
I just feel like she felt like she had to get one last lick into Pauline, because remember, they went back and forth
They
during
sure did go back and forth. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. She sure did. She sure did.
I do not. I hate saying this, but if you're dealing with someone who was already like in this mindset, like she's good at reading the judge. You know, like
Yes.
she probably told him all the stuff he wanted to hear.
Right.
And,
That's why he was so cute and so nice to her.
I mean, if that shit wouldn't work on me, and she probably would say something different. On me, I'd be like, well, I don't give a fuck you. This guy's going to, you know what I mean? But like to this judge, she like tailored her presentation to him. It's
We
Right.
needed you as the judge.
yeah,
Right.
seriously, I would have thrown the book, you know.
Right.
No,
like
no
I would have been like 30
no
more on
questions.
top of his 30. Fuck you.
No question asked.
But Bonjean did a good job. I'm not gonna lie. She did a good job defending her man and getting him a lighter sentence. You know what I mean?
Besides when she was lying.
Right. I mean, she's a lawyer. Most lawyers lie.
Yeah, but that's
Especially when they're defense.
that's so
when
easily
they're defense
debunked.
lawyers.
Like she has photos with him. Like you can't just make up the
She's
year.
a groupie.
She sounds like a groupie.
They're all fucking groupies. I mean, come on, man. Everybody knows R. Kelly. Everybody loves R. Kelly, allegedly. So they all gotta, do what they gotta do. Well, guys, we've been on for 2.5 hours. K-Love, gracias, mi amor. Thank you so much, my love. SpongeBob Steve, bro, you already know. Gracias, mi amor. Thank you so much for helping me out, guys. Read this. We got through the 50, 60 pages. So part 2 tomorrow, y'all. Please make sure you hit that like button, all right?
Yes, hit the like.
And share the show. Share the show, guys, if you can. Share it on your platforms. You never know who might want to hear it, all right? Don't be scared to share my shit. And you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. So Bonjean is saying that her client is guilty, just not in 2 decades. Right. That's what she was trying to say, that he did his shit in his way, way past.
Yeah, his way, way past.
Right. He ain't do nothing new. Nothing new.
Yeah, so the New York case, that was all lies.
Right.
That never happened.
Right. Fuck out of here. These people be bugging out. It's crazy. It's crazy. And thank you guys for the hearts. Thank you. So guys, yes, don't forget, please hit that like button on your way out. You know, anybody wants to donate, you could donate. Y'all know my Cash App, Diva Divine Light. You could PayPal me. You could also Zelle me, y'all. Alrighty. And if you guys ever have any tips or you want to just text me, you want to shout me out or whatever, you want to call in, you can call my number 347-336-9724, or you can email me if you have any information you want to send me, any clips, anything, you know, info, something interesting we can talk about. All right? Do me that favor. Email me, diva.josh.32332@gmail.com. All right?
Good night, everyone.
Yes, good night, guys. I love y'all. Don't forget to hit that like button, okay? Please, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Gracias very mucho. Hit that like button. Put the bell on all. Hit that little bell on all. All right? For those who are in the comment section, please leave your comments and tell me what you think. All right? And you guys already know your girl Diva is out. Part 2 tomorrow. Peace.